Evan.
Tyler.
And we are joined today by Adam Ellis and George Ellis with their book, A Surgical Approach to Meat Cutting. Now, these two guys are fascinating because George is a surgeon and Adam is a butcher, and they decided to come together and write a book about how they're similar and how it's different. And since we do so much meat and butchery, we thought these guys would be awesome. So thank you guys for reaching out to us beforehand here. I think this is going to be a great, fun interview. And I want to throw it to you guys to kind of introduce yourselves and talk about why you decided to write this book.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Want me to go first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Adam started working. He was working in the hospital. He worked in my office. Medical training, and he started doing meat cutting. And I was thinking about it after a while, and I said, "There's some similarities here." And he said to me, "I probably cut meat as good as you do surgery." And I said, "There's got to be a story to this."
Yes.
And I said, maybe we should think about, writing something, even writing a book about it. And so we kind of talked about it, and probably 2+ years ago, we started.
Yeah,
So Adam, so you had a little bit of medical experience in your background as well?
Yeah, actually, I'm actually licensed as a venipuncture for drawing blood. I worked at a lab for about 2.5 years, taking samples. I'm also a certified nursing assistant, licensed. So pretty much a jack of all trades.
How many times have you healed up your own cut wounds there, buddy?
Surgical glue is my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
My hands actually look like Edward Scissorhands' face, so.
Oh, seriously, man. I know. Dude, I've seen this guy's hands too.
Don't get me started.
So yes, you guys decided to come together and write this book, and I know, Adam, you've had a lot of butchery experience. Where have you been? Where have you been working to kind of pick up all that butchery experience?
Oh, I got most of my training. It's a small shop right in the middle of Orlando. It's called Petty's Meats, and there's been a variety of people that I've learned from there. Probably the most influential is my most current mentor, which is Tim. He's a master butcher, and he's been cutting. He's 45 now. He's been cutting since he was 18 years old.
Nice.
He's been to everything. He's been at processing plants. He's been at little local wildlife breakdown places, and that guy can cut meat 3 times faster than I can. I mean, you'll be shocked if you ever saw him cut meat. And he knows how to merchandise it so well too. He knows the old school ways. He knows new school ways, and he knows pretty much how to utilize almost all of the cow besides the fat.
Literally muscle memory.
Oh man, this man could come in with no sleep at all and just do it in his sleep.
That's cool. I like to hear that he's new school too, because so many butchers are old and classic and only do it one way, and with the consumers these days, man, we want so many more different cuts. There's so many new things out there. We can, there's so many different ways, and I think it's cool. You guys are in Florida and we're in Washington here, and so I think we should also talk about the differences in butchery just between the coasts, because I know you guys call things different and all that.
So what do you guys normally do with your tomahawks? Do you have any certain way of doing that? So what we normally do is we'll take a tomahawk and we'll split it right in the middle down the bone, and then lay it flat, kind of butterflied, and then we'll stick the tail up the other way. And some places they call that the scorpion. We call it, because it's Florida, the manta ray.
I see.
Oh dang, that sounds good.
I've seen that before. We leave. How big are those? About 3.5, 4 pounders?
Easily, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We do about 4 pounders and do a dry brine overnight, and then slow smoke, reverse sear.
Okay.
And then I slice it off the bone and fan it out across the bone on the plate.
I mean, the bone's just for appearance. I mean, I always
feel
it
is, dude. And sometimes at the butcher shop, I have to tell people, I'm like, yeah, this is the dramatic piece to take to a barbecue, but you're paying me for a lot of inedible pieces of bone here. It's cool. It's a trophy, but
yeah, that's cool though. Yeah. So what do you guys call? We call it the zabuton up here. What do you guys call it? I know it's called the Denver steak. It's right under the chuck roll. Do you guys have a name for that beautiful clamshell piece of meat?
The oyster. There's an oyster piece that I've heard before, and then it's just pretty much Denver here. Yeah. So it's not.
Yeah. Good old Denver. Old Denver. So how long were you at Petty's Meats for?
About 5 years. It has a very long running. It's been around and open since the 70s. They're a very traditional butcher market, so it's very hard to sway those new ideas into that area. But like in this day and age, that's what you need to survive in that type of business. Um, I learned a lot there about like how to run a butcher market and like basically how to run like because like I started as a grinder and I moved my way up as a meat cutter, and it took like less than 2 to 3 months for me to be moved into a meat cutter position. It was almost like, hey, yeah, you can start cutting meat, but also you have to do the grind. So it's like we're gonna pay you for 2 jobs for the price of one.
Okay. So man, so you guys decided to come together and write this book. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's it called, and what? Why did you guys do it, and why a surgeon and a butcher? Why'd you guys come together and do that?
I think mostly what we came to was just like an arbitrary decision because I mean obviously the breakdown. I mean you don't want to think about that as a human, but that is a reality.
Yeah.
That we could correlate that to cutting meat, and then also like we have a lot of history that like if you want to like delve on that about like the history and everything.
Yeah, so my mother was French, so I learned a lot of cooking from her, and so did he. She passed like 16 years ago, but we learned a lot about cooking. Everything: chicken, beef, pork, and like some of the recipes in the book have to do with cooking in wine. I just made a beef and beer dish a few days ago. So I think all that we had an interest, and so when I was in medical training as a resident, I had a resident who was working with me who was a year or two ahead of me, and he had a brother who was a surgeon, and his brother climbed Mount Everest 3 times.
Okay.
Wow.
And he gave us a lecture about that, and he called it a surgical approach to Mount Everest.
Okay.
And that stuck with me. We're talking like 40 years ago, and that stuck with me. And I said, a surgical approach to meat cutting, and that's how I came with the title, and then the subtitle, which is cutting, carving, and cooking for success. Believe it or not, that came from I wanted a subtitle for the book just to get some more clarification. And I actually got that from artificial intelligence. I plugged in a bunch of information that had to do with the book, and they came out with that as the subtitle. And I said, okay, I'll go with it.
Keeping it easy, man.
I know.
ChatGPT. Nice.
It's so easy. It's so nice.
Yeah. So you were talking about the similarities and differences between surgery and butchery. So what are some of those main differences?
Well, the main difference is, and there's a lot, but the one that really stood out for me is Adam told me about silver skin, that you take off.
The sinew, yeah.
And he said to me, that's stuff that we trash. And that's actually for the muscle, what we call fascia, which is the lining of the muscle. So like when we go through muscle, first layer is the fascia, so we have to cut that. And then we go through the muscle, then we get inside, all the organs and everything. But that fascia is one of the most important things for us because that's the thing we have to suture and put back together. And that provides the strength of the closure. And so I thought it was ironic that was so important to us as surgeons. And he told me, oh yeah, we trashed that.
I think it was like one day I was cutting like a flat iron, and I was like normally the 2 fillets, and I was trying to get in right in between the sinew, and I was like, it's such that in my opinion is one of the top 3 hardest things to break down into subcuts is a flat iron, for sure, no question about it.
I'm training my sous chef right now.
Yeah.
I'm training my sous chef. She gets 3 a week until she can bang them out. Then we'll do like 20 of them.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds like.
I thought the first difference you were gonna say is one body is dead and one is alive.
Well, yeah. So there's more liability in one industry.
That's the apparent first difference, isn't it?
Yeah, there's more liability in his industry, and there's no liability in mine.
You can still make grind.
Yeah.
But But now we're talking about similarities. You know, in surgery, we want to be expedient. You know, we want to do the surgery right, but we want to get it done. We want to be timely. We want to have precision, and then we know that at the end, you know, the patient's going to wake up, and after a few days, they're going to see their incision. They want to see a good outcome with that. Well,
Yeah.
with you guys, it's the same thing. You know, you want to cut precisely. You know, you may have a customer that says, you know, I want a 1 pound fillet. You want to be timely. You want to say, yeah, you can pick it up in half an hour. And then the outcome, you want to show that. And I know for him, it's happened multiple times that they've had special requests, and he shows them the finished product. You can't change it, and
Nope.
people are happy.
People buy with the eyes. For
A
sure.
lot of times, yeah.
And that's why the term butchery, butchering and butchery is kind of changed, because it used to be like, oh, I'm gonna butcher the hell out of this thing, you know, and
I
mess
say
it
that
up.
I say that all the time
Yeah.
in the butcher classes. I was like, it's almost an insult in this day and age to be called a butcher, because what's that known as back in the day is that you just fucked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah,
butchered
exactly.
that, right? Because the butcher's like this big meat throwing around guy that's
Yeah, it's just
in the walk-in punching
big cleaver.
steers, and like now it's like such an artisan, craft for us.
We-
and
we-
I always try to explain to people like what your goal is, even like as simple as butchering or cleaning up a tenderloin. You want it to look like a knife never touched the muscle. That's what I
Right,
try to
right, yeah, smooth lines and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure that's the same in surgery too.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Don't butcher that.
Yeah.
well, it's funny you mentioned that, because, again, when I was in training as a medical student, you know, one of the things we did in this particular hospital is on Fridays we would go to lunch at a local place. It's actually Junior's Cheesecake, which is a famous place for cheesecake in Brooklyn. And we would have our white coats on. We'd walk to the place, we'd eat, and then walk back. And then every so often you'd get people out in the street saying, "Butchers!"
Stop. No shit. That's hilarious. Wow.
You know, man, so talking about your book, I love how in the table of contents you break down, it's basically a breakdown of every single cut of the animal. And, that's something, utilization of the whole animal is something really important to us, really important to pretty much all butchers. But a lot of people, we always say they only go for the Hollywood cuts, right? They only go for the tenderloin and the New York
Yeah.
and the ribeye. But you guys have a bunch of cuts on here that are so fantastic. Some of our favorites. I know you cooked some stuff up today.
Yeah.
But I thought this was really cool, man. That you guys really went through and really took the time to talk about every single.
That
cut.
was my area.
Absolutely.
Is that bistro filet? Is that Terrace Major?
Yes, Terrace Major. Yeah, absolutely. That's like we call that kid steak or mock fillet at my old work. It's,
Yeah.
Mock
or,
fillet,
yeah,
the
like
kid
kid
fillet,
steak.
we've heard that.
You pay like a third of the cost. You get the same tenderness, almost the same flavor.
Well, we got a guy who comes in and buys us out of Terrace Major, no matter how many we have. He's like, "Give me all 6 packs. I'm going, dude."
Yeah, we
That's
have the
great.
same people. Like they'll come in and they're like, "I want all you got," and it's like, okay.
Have you tried a full blood Wagyu Terrace Major?
I have not. I would be very
Or,
interested in that flavor.
Yeah.
Whoa,
It's so good.
Different,
Oh,
but a whole different ball game.
insane!
That might-
It's insane.
That might be my new favorite.
It's fucking delicious.
Dude, yeah. What do you guys do with the tri-tip down there in Florida? Because that's a California, really famous in California. We do a
Right.
ton of it up here too, but what do you guys do with it down there?
Normally, that's a slow cook for that. Most of the time, there's a fast way that I normally do it is if you put it covered in a oven for about like 250 for I'd say about 2.5 hours. If you want to just be able to slice it, if you want it like completely broken down, you want it like falling apart, you're gonna need at least 4 hours at 250 and no higher than that
Right.
covered.
That's
So.
good.
Is that fat cap on?
Yeah. I normally what I start with is most people they'll start with it like it up. I start with it down and then finish with it up. So then that
Me too,
that
buddy.
meat, that fat's
Same.
rendering down into the meat.
Seriously, Tyler told me that exact same thing like yesterday. That's
Yeah.
exactly-
Actually,
I
actually don't
kind of
even
know what
flip
I'm
it.
talking about a little bit.
Yeah,
I kind of don't even flip it. I put it in, I season it like overnight, like dry brine,
Mhm.
and then I'll put it face down, fat cap down in a cast iron, cold cast iron,
Okay, yeah, sear it.
and then put it on the heat and bring it up really slow, almost like you're searing like a duck breast, like a fatty duck breast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll not touch it at all and just throw it in the oven at 350, 375 and let it kind of slow roast with the fat cap down.
Right.
And then, of course, I'll pull it out and flip it before I serve it. But
You know, it's been a
gotta
really
be one of my favorites.
Yeah, tri-tip for sure. Like the intramuscular marbling that's in there is absolutely delicious. I was like, when it's broken
So
down
good.
into the meat properly, slow cooked, it's like it's untouchable, and you understand why the West Coast always is about it. Normally, a success of mine is we take pickle juice a lot, and we brine our meats, like either our chicken or any type of meat, and you just brine it overnight or 48 hours. I swear to God, it's like a night and day difference. Like I was saying, like the Famous Hot. I mean, they put like little jalapenos in there. They put a bunch of seasoning. The pickles are very hot, and it breaks down the meat really well. Like I said, I just cooked some skirt steak with it, marinated in it, and like it has a different type of sweetness to it on top of like salty, and it's just like it's impeccable.
Really?
I did that the other day with the pepperoncini juice.
Oh yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I was like, when I have leftover pizza, I take the pepperoncinis and put it on the crust so it's not dry,
dude.
and then I cook
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, nice.
dang, man. That's awesome, dude. Well, you talked about the flat iron being one of the hardest muscles to kind of break down, Butcher. What are your other two, out of the three, what are your other two hardest muscles to kind of break down a Butcher?
I'm probably gonna have to say I'm gonna have to go with the hanger for sure. I was like, because like we take the sinew, the lining in there, out. So it's like instead of it being like a membrane type looking, we take out the middle, so it's like a separate piece. So sometimes you end up with a big piece of hanger, and then sometimes you end up with the other side with a smaller piece. So I know a lot of traditionally what they do is they keep the sinew in the middle of it. But like the thing that ends up with being like a tough steak, you know, like if you're trying to cut into it, I was like, you got that little silver lining in there, and it's like it's gross. Nobody wants to feel toughness and stuff stuck in their teeth.
Seriously, yeah.
Right.
So got the hanger, we got the flat iron. What else you got that it always bothers you?
Shoot.
Man.
Was time consuming. I was like, especially if you get the bavette a certain way, that's very time consuming. I'd say the easiest is probably a flank. I was like, there's not a lot of fat on that. You just go boom, boom, boom. It's done. Over.
Couple swipes.
Yeah, exactly.
The bavette is kind of like my new flank. You know, I like that style. That's like thicker, still from the abdomen, but like got that nice thickness to it, super tender. That's like one of my favorite.
What, the bavette?
Yeah.
The transverse abdomen, yeah, for sure. Because like it's got the intramuscular marbling, the way that it cooks down into it, and then the texture and everything is just very like savory. You know, I was like, it's like each bite has like a really nice like texture, and then like the fat content in there. It's great.
Being that your mother was French, you must know about a bavette, eh?
Yeah. Right. We got French. It means bib.
The bib.
Yep. The bib. Dude, I like that. So, you know, I reached out to you guys. You guys reached out to me, but I got back to you because, you know, this book I think is really. I started laughing when you said the surgical approach to meat cutting. I was laughing because Tyler always tells me he thinks, you know, he's butchered like 1,000, 2,000 pigs. And he's like, I could probably butcher a human being, you know, jokingly, you know, because the organs are in the same spot, and he's always pointing out there, your liver's here, and I'm like, damn, dude, like, get off me, first of all.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Yes.
I had a member of a club at this restaurant we used to run out in the Pike Place Market, and I would butcher a whole hog every Wednesday or Thursday. It was Wednesday. Yeah. Every Wednesday I'd butcher a whole hog, about 188, 190 pounds.
Yep.
And the night before, this member of our club, who all I knew is he was a doctor. I didn't know what kind of doctor he was. And he said, hey, Tyler, when's the next time you're butchering a pig? And could I come and watch? I'm like, yeah, be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Didn't think he'd be showing up because he was drinking as many of those bottles in front of you right there. So I didn't think he was going to show up.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he shows up. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? You're a doctor. You probably know more about this than I do. I'm just going to talk to you like I'm training somebody who's never cut up a carcass before. He's like, all right. And I went in from the inside, and I was like, you can count the ribs backwards or forwards, depending on what kind of butcher you are. I'm going to count from the front, go into 4, put my knife through this rib right here. And he's like, whoa. He's like, I could teach you how to put a defibrillator tube into a human in like 10 minutes. And I was like,
Okay, yeah,
okay, weirdo.
yeah.
Seriously though, same thing, man.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Dude, so
So,
what is the? Oh,
do
go
you-
ahead, man.
Do you know why they call it living high off the hog?
No,
No,
tell
so-
me.
There's two actual components to that the Boston butt. So one is living high off the hog, which is normally back in like Victorian ages. The shoulder was a very predominant piece of meat that like people that would purchase and buy. So they would call it living high off the hog. Another terminology, and this me and my mentor knew both of these terminologies, except like I knew he knew high off the hog, and I knew the cold shoulder. So cold shoulder back in the day, in old terms, if they didn't want you at a dinner party, because obviously no phones, no social media, no ways to contact, they'd serve you the cold shoulder. So that's
No
when you know
kidding.
you were wanted at a dinner party.
Cold
Wow.
shoulder. Oh wow.
How do you know that I like that stupid shit?
Yeah.
I love it. I
You
love
and-
those stories.
You and my
Yeah,
mentor
dude.
would get along just well, I promise you.
Oh no joke. So what are some of the differences just between a cow and a pig? Obviously, the cow's much larger, but if you're going to break down both of those, what would you tell people the main differences?
I think what's nice about like smaller animals is like what most people wanted to teach me on stuff, especially about the anatomy, would be a smaller, so like a lamb. Like they would want to show me like the different areas, like because it would be easier than doing it on a cow, because it's pretty much all adjacent, the same thing, unless a few other components. So a lot of times my mentor would be, every time we get a lamb in, he'd be like, all right, he's like, there's where the hanger is. He'd be like, oh, yep, he's like, there's where the skirt steak is. So like I would say for best recommendation, if you're trying to go into meat cutting, or like if you plan on it, get an apprenticeship somewhere at like a small butcher shop and start learning on smaller animals, because like a lot of times when they have these schools, I was like, they give you the 3 animals. I was like, they start with the lamb, then the pig, and then they work your way up to the cow.
Yeah, it's just a lot different, right? I mean, it's first of all, it's way bigger, obviously.
Mhm.
So you got to like, oops, sorry, this is a real restaurant podcast. We got
Yeah, we
deliveries
got
coming in.
ours going on.
Guys beeping the hell out of it, backing up down the alleyway.
And
My
he's
God,
early.
man.
No
He's
worries, no worries.
Very early.
But yeah, so obviously you want to start on something smaller, easier to manage. You know, do you have to butcher the cow differently than a hog?
I mean, other than size comparison, and then maybe a little bit more like a like roughness to it. Yeah, I was like, I put a little more strength into it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
Pretty much the same thing.
for me, and this is not really my world, you know,
Yep.
I would think, like Tyler just said, you could do a whole pig. I don't know if it exists to do a whole cow. I mean, it's so big.
Not really.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
they quarter it. Yeah.
So I would think that that's one of the things, is that a whole pig you can do it. A whole cow, I mean, it probably doesn't make any sense.
You're not tall enough, you know, even to do it. Like some of the bigger pigs that I've butchered, like say at the farm, they were huge.
150, 100.
Oh, dude, no, like 250 hanging.
Woo!
Wow.
So I have a picture. I'll try to find it.
Yeah,
I have
those
it
are
up on the
beasts.
gambrel, and the snout is almost touching the ground, and I'm like on a milk crate trying to viscerate.
Yeah.
So big and long. It was like
Wow.
crazy.
Dude. Yeah.
But we fed people at the farm for a whole entire season off that one hog, so that was kind of how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We let them get a
That'll
little
work.
bigger than usual.
Yeah, that'll
That
work.
is definitely a lot bigger than usual for sure.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. And whole cows are harder to fit through the door too. Which is
Well,
like-
normally they come quartered. Normally, traditionally, I was like, if you're breaking them down at a plant, so
Yeah.
What's your favorite quarter to get after? Shoulder, middles.
probably I would say like for the breakdown, probably like the steamship for sure. The hind leg.
Hind leg, yeah.
Steamship.
Yeah.
Like that big volcano brazing shank looking thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's so, you know, it's cool. We just went to this auction this Wagyu beef auction over in Pullman, Washington, and they took a whole leg and they were cutting up this full blood Wagyu beef, and they took the whole leg and they're butchering steaks out of the leg, because in Wagyu, since there's so much more intramuscular fat and it's so much more tender, you can actually get some nice steaks out of the leg, and we thought that was really fascinating. The guy there was a meat scientist from WSU.
Dude, meat scientist.
This
bro.
guy was just, we're like, whoop, way over our head, man. He was naming every single little muscle in the leg.
I'm trying to
man. It was-
memorize the middles, like
Bro.
longissimus, spinalis. Those are the
I
easy
just
ones.
get the
He
primal
was saying these-
everything.
Oh my god.
Oh, he was killing it.
What?
But it was cool because normally if you're butchering the leg, you can take the shank and you can do some ossobuco, cut out the rounds and everything.
We're
But
trying to call it what is a stakeable item.
Yeah.
In the difference between a full blood Angus and like 100% full blood Wagyu because of that intermuscular fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys buy full traditional Kobe, or is that like Americanized, like Australian based? Like,
That's Americanized, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go off. You've done your research on the
man.
Kobe and
Obviously Kobe, just like in the Champagne region of France, Champagne is only made in the Champagne region of France. Sparkling
Exactly.
wine,
That's a
right,
good
is made
comparison.
everywhere else. So Kobe has to be from Kobe, the prefecture in Japan. It's highly regarded as like some of the nicest beef in the world out of Japan, some of the best beef in the entire world. They always say that there's like a certain special beautiful water that they use, and there's a bunch of myths about it. But I mean, just the care that they take, obviously, is just some of the best in the world.
I think the beginning introduction of Wagyu into the U.S., that was the catchphrase to get people very interested. Like, oh shit, well, wow, that's got to be the top of the top. And
That's fancy.
They actually were lying, and because it did not actually come from Kobe, right?
It's just a relatable
Great
term
value.
that people used.
Yeah.
Great value Kobe.
Right? And so now, you see it as like, oh, Kobe beef burgers on like menus, and it's like, well, it's not really.
Yeah,
right?
well, I went to Applebee's and got a Kobe burger.
Yeah.
Let me see the certificate, the snout imprint.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right,
Right, exactly. So so most of the stuff now, most stuff that we bring in over here is, F1 cross, so 50% Wagyu, 50% Angus, or purebred, which is 93% Wagyu, usually bred with Angus, or full blood. We get a lot of full blood out here as well. That's 100% traceability right back to Japan. Yeah. And it's all traced by the American Wagyu Association, so you can see all of the parents all the way back to Japan.
Wow. Oh, you have to show me a part of that sometime.
It's wild, dude.
Yeah.
When you get into it, it's like there's a bunch of little terminology prefectors that like you have to go and research, and like how the genetics differ from maternal weight, birth weight, hanging weight, beef marbling scale of the rib. It's craziness.
So it's like crossbreeding a bunch of marijuana except cows, right?
That's exactly how I feel, man.
This guy says that all the time.
It reminds me of the cannabis industry,
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it's gonna be and to me, honestly, like just as far as the economics go, I feel like 10-15 years ago cannabis was just kind of starting to get a little bit of traction, and that's where I feel like Wagyu beef is right now too. I feel like in the next 5 to 7 years it's just going to be everywhere. Everyone's going to have it. There'll be a lot of farmers that are just going to start introducing it into their herds, and it might be 10 or 20 or 30% Wagyu, but it's going to be nicer, more marble, tender meat.
Yeah.
And that's what we're
Tastes
really
better.
excited
And
for that.
ultimately more nutritious.
Yeah.
Better for all of us as a whole, as a human race, really.
Yeah, because of all the healthy fats.
Yeah.
Healthy fat.
Talk about the healthy fats there, Doc.
We love the healthy fats. Man, well, I know you guys cooked up some. First of all, if you're just listening, we're talking to these guys as they're sipping on some nice bourbons because they know that we have a bourbon restaurant here.
This is actually local, New Smyrna. They distilled this here. It's a Kalisa blend. It's delicious. It has a nice sweetness, very smoky. It's got a little bite to it. But they distilled this in the shark bite capital, which is New Smyrna, obviously, of the country. So what I've cooked today is basically I took, like I said, those Dave Hot pickle chips and some Wagyu beef, and then just mixed it together with jalapenos. And then we've also cooked sausage, and I also have some skirt steak that's also marinated in it too.
Oh, so wait, what did you marinate the steak in?
Can you see all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and put it down. So there's these chips that you can normally get over the counter, obviously. They're like very hot chips. They're called Dave's Famous, and like the brine in it is so hot that like it breaks down the meat, and then it adds a little bit of acidicness to it, on top of like it's sweet and salty. It's delicious.
Dope.
They're the huge
Dude.
jars too. It's called Dave's Famous.
That's
Cool.
awesome, man. Man, you guys are doing it up down in Florida, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez, I was sitting down there,
No,
man.
it's lunchtime here.
Yeah, that's
Killing me, bro.
that's a good
Oh, it's
looking
almost
lunch.
dinner
right there.
time here.
So when you guys have recipes in your book as well, you know, is that just like just meat recipes, or do you do some barbecue stuff, or kind of talk a little bit about that and how that came about?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of everything in there. There's different cooking methods, and then sometimes to illustrate the cooking method, I added a recipe. And you know the way we did the book, because writing a book is not always easy, was I had a writing assistant because I felt like I needed somebody who could do the syntax and the grammar, and so I started putting the ideas together chapter by chapter. But then whenever it needed some expertise, I would say to him, "Hey, I'm on this. You know, how does that work, etc." So once that took about, I want to say, 9 months to get that first part done, working together, and then the last part that has all the diagrams and the anatomy, that was all him. So everything was at that point up to him as to when we would finish. And I would always be like, "Come on, let's get going," and he would be like, "Well, don't rush it. You know, you don't want to. You want to have a good product at the end, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, okay." So you know, it took 2 years.
It cost me my last relationship.
This industry, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
service industry.
Yeah, just this industry. Now you're throwing a book on top of it.
What was harder, writing the book or actually getting it published? Because I've heard that that's difficult.
I see that all right.
Oh damn, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's this skirt steak, and also like you guys should talk about more about like the cost effectiveness if you go to certain places, because Aldi currently sells all choice meat now, and they also have Wagyu ground. Aldi.
What's it called?
Have you ever heard of Aldi?
No.
No.
So that's more predominantly over here. It's like kind of like they started like as like a Walmart grocery store. So it's the original owner was German, and like he had 2 sons. He gave one son Aldi, and then he gave the other son Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah, we got the Trader Joe's over here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So is it Aldi like an East Coast and Trader Joe's a West Coast, or what?
Well, we have a few Trader Joe's here. Do you guys have Trader Joe's over in West Coast?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
Other than
that
that-
one right down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, keep killing it. Dang. So you said you usually prime beef and you do a lot of Wagyu over there as well? Do you have a lot of access to it?
I mean, if I wanted to, but normally, like our shop used to do traditionally, is we'd have to order and like fly in our Kobe, so it'd have to be shipped to us directly from like Japan.
Yeah.
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 But like we have a
A
lot
little
of
more expensive.
nice Australian-based Wagyu here too. I used to grind like my grind position. I can grind pretty much anything down to a human body if I wanted to.
That'll
We
that'll,
do some Australian.
that'll be the Dexter
we just-
2.0.
Yeah. Dude, I know, that's the first thing I think about.
Challenge.
Dude, so yeah, we do some Wagyu or some Australian Wagyu over here as well. And I don't know, I think we prefer U.S. Wagyu, American Wagyu. I don't know, there's something about the Australian sometimes when we get it. We don't totally love it. There's a few places like Stone Axe, we love that. That's good stuff.
It's got a creaminess
Yeah, it's-
to it, almost like a grass fetish.
It's a different terroir. Yeah.
Snake
Snake.
River is we got a lot of our stuff from too.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Snake River's great, yeah.
Snake River.
They do a lot, yeah. They're huge over here.
So we're trying the Jefferson now because after we rinse it, so we can have it with the sausage.
Oh, yeah.
Comparison.
Dude,
to that.
so these guys are some whiskey connoisseurs as well, and they knew that we owned a restaurant over here that does a lot of whiskey, and our partner Sarah does a lot of whiskey for us. So what are the three whiskeys you guys got down there?
So, like I said before, this is the Sugar Mills. This is made directly in New Smyrna. It's very popular in town here and pretty much all in like Central Florida too. This is the Jefferson, but it's like aged near the ocean. This is like a different blend. And you guys kind of froze up. Oh, there we go. And then this one we had made a few years back in Colorado from a distiller that no longer is in business. Ironically, because it was delicious when they made it. That's why we have a few bottles that we have still not touched.
So
Yeah,
I think I touched on this before. This was a distiller. They partnered with customers, and you paid a fee, and then they put the bourbon, the green bourbon that looked like water, in the barrel, and then periodically you would test it, and then at some point you would say, okay, I want to bottle it now, and so I'll show you the label here. I hope it's
Yeah, there you go, right there.
Sweet.
it's called Hale and Bradford.
Okay. Nice. So do you guys do a lot of pairing with meat in the book, or you guys just love bourbon?
Yeah, so we do pairing. We do wine pairing. On the recipes that call for beer. In the recipe. We'll talk about that pairing. So that's kind of throughout the book. That whole theme of, you can cook with this, and then you could drink the same wine or the same beer or whatever.
Yeah.
So that works pretty well. Like the other day when I did the beef in the beer, I actually drank wine with it because it's very rich, and
Yeah.
and I had a big wine, a Cabernet, with it, and it was kind of like a good combination. But that's one of the things I like is playing with things like that. But also I like the culture of different meats and different foods and different alcohol and where they came
Yeah.
from and how they get aged and all that stuff. So I'm gonna try this sausage with the Jefferson here that Sarah talked about.
What kind of beer do you use in your beef and beer? Is that a braise?
Yes. So in the beer with the beef, it's usually a heavier beer, like a stout.
Yeah.
And I like Belgian beer because I spent some time in Belgium. I'm familiar with those beers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think on this one I used an amber, I think from
There you go.
Scotland or something.
Scotch ale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Nice. Man. So if you guys had to choose one cut to prepare, each of you, what would you choose?
Is this your last dinner? Like you're about to go to death row?
Just about to go to death row?
Dang.
No, not like that. Just like, man, like if you were just going out, you had all the money in the world, you're like, I'm gonna get this one cut and prepare it. What are you gonna do?
Why don't you tell them about what you had in Key West, inside skirt, Wagyu?
Oh yeah, yeah. When I was in Key West 2 years ago for my birthday, Sunset Key, they had a really nice Wagyu, and that was what was it called?
What?
Inside skirt.
Yeah, so like when they said that in the menu they had inside skirt, I said, and it was Wagyu on top of it. I was like, whoa, wait a second. I was like, they have inside Wagyu skirt? I was like, maybe
Yeah.
outside I would have get that, but when they said inside, I was like, yeah, you got to get that.
Yeah, dude.
Definitely.
Man.
So marbled, right?
Oh, dude, that's
Yeah.
inside skirt.
Just melt in your mouth.
Yeah. That's
But
a big one for you.
The other cuts that I like are not necessarily the best cuts, but if you cook it low and slow, like for 3 hours, I like that too because it really falls apart nicely.
Which cuts like that? Which ones are you talking about?
No, normally we would do like a flat. If we wanted more fat, we would do the decal end of a brisket, or less fat would probably be the flat end of the brisket. The major or minor
Sure.
tri-tip is a great one too. Coulette, or
Yeah, picanha.
Yeah.
thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's definitely another one too. That's like I think that's up there right with tri-tip as well.
Yeah. We love that. Those fat on tri-tips look just like the picanha, man. That's kind of like same
Triangle
idea
steak.
there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of tri-tip. We just talked to the Meat Poppy who's down in Dallas, and he made a tri-tip chili in Dallas when he was on the Barbecue Showdown show, and everyone was like, "What the fuck are you doing? This isn't right. It's tri-tip," And so I always like to hear about tri-tip like all over because I just feel like it's such an underrated cut, and we do
Agreed.
it so much, man. We do it so much up here. We do tri-tip sandwiches. We do whole smoked tri-tips, fat on tri-tips.
We
Wagyu
guys are West
tri-tips.
Coast,
We
so
do-
I mean, it's predominantly
Yeah.
more used in West Coast for sure.
Yeah,
True.
it is, man.
We
It's
cook
not
alligator in the world
traditional.
out here.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not. So, we do a lot of barbecue stuff too. Do you guys have a lot of barbecue cool restaurants down there? Or in what is kind of like a Florida style barbecue, if you don't mind me asking?
So, like, if we're talking about like fast food barbecue, we're gonna go with Bubbaloo's down here for sure. And
Okay.
then I don't know, you guys have Four Rivers over there?
No.
No.
So that's the predominantly, so like I would call that not like a formal dining experience. I call that like, hey, we've been smoking this for 16 hours. Come get your
Yep.
tray. And I was like, and we got a piece of paper underneath to feed you with.
That's love it.
So-
Love it, dude. I mean,
And there's nothing
shit.
wrong with that at all. But like, I'm trying to think
No.
more fine. What would you say more like elegant fine dining meat?
Was there a style? Like, is there like a piece of meat, that's like Texas is brisket. Get in the Carolinas, they do a lot of pig. Is there anything like that down there? Specialties down there? Because we always talk about us doing Seattle barbecue, which is different than Texas. Everyone thinks it's smoked salmon, but we just try to utilize the whole animal up here and utilize a lot of Wagyu beef and different cuts. But I don't know if there's anything like that down there in Florida.
Shoot, I was like, if we want something specialty, we'll grind it and then put it in some hog casing. I was like,
Yeah, there you
there
go.
was
Hey,
one
yeah.
time we tried a brisket sausage, and the deterring factor of that is that when we cooked it, all of the brisket's about 30% like ratio fat, if not more. All the
Yeah.
fat would pool into the hog casing, and it was complete disaster.
Dang.
Okay.
We've tried chicken before, and there was a tropical chicken. There was just so many components to it, and that's delicious. Don't get me wrong, but there's it's very time consuming and not ethically for making money, other than if you're making a huge batch of it. If
Yeah.
I had to say there was a cut down here that we want and a lot of people look for buffalo. If it's as crazy as that sounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a tough sell for us up here in
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in a little more Midwest, Idaho, Montana area, and buffalo is pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
We brought it in here, and it's a tough one.
Kinda
Please
scares
send it
me.
We
down.
don't sell a lot of
Please.
lamb.
I was like,
We
please send
don't
it
sell a
down.
lot of buffalo.
Yeah. That's cool down there, though. I mean, it's obviously it's a little bit more leaner. You can grind it up, use it for a lot of different things. But yeah, we tried to sell big, steaks out of it and things like that, and we thought it was gonna be really cool. It looked awesome.
Even just the color of the fat being so yellow
Yeah.
and
It's just educating the community. I feel
For
like,
sure.
I was like sampling.
100%.
I was like, if you do the Costco mode where you're sampling, I was like letting people know. I was like, that helps a lot. The education that you have and telling people what it's comes from, what it tastes like.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like camel. You would never think. I was like, camel's actually very good. I've had camel. I've had ostrich. We had a lot of variety of wild game at our store, and I was like, if you don't try it, you don't know. So don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
So do you butchered camel quarters or anything?
No. I was like, that would be definitely interesting. No, that was brought in more third party for our store for sure.
Okay. Damn, dude. Yeah. Wow. Dang, we got a lot of noise happening over here,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, we do too. We got people playing pool.
So getting back to the barbecue, and I know that there's North Carolina barbecue, and there's Tennessee, Texas. I almost want to say it's kind of a combination here, because
Yeah.
Florida has a lot of people that have come from everywhere.
Transplants,
and
right?
you can find like ribs at a Morton's or one of those restaurants that's high end. And there's a fair amount of smoking meat here. I have a smoker. He gave me a smoker for Christmas, a couple of years ago. And I like smoking meat because it's an enjoyable activity. And then the end result is good too. I like smoking, eating smoked meat.
I tell people all the time from experience. I bought myself an $800 Komodo. It's basically a Green Egg XL. It's called a Kong. And then I bought him an electronic smoker, and I wish I would have bought myself the electronic.
So yeah, right. So much easier. Dude, those Komodos are pretty nice though, man. Yeah, those. Oh. I think I lost you on the audio there for a sec. Whoop.
Got it?
You got it back?
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, this like at a certain point it like turns off, and you just gotta tap it to turn it back on.
Great value.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Now we're back. Now we're back. Now we got people trying to cut through the restaurant.
Where did I leave you guys at?
Dude, we're going crazy right here. Well, shoot. So, where can people find this book? All right, where can people find it? Let them know where they can get a hold of you and where they can find it.
So if you want to go to Amazon, I was like, and just obviously type in, I was like, if I had the actual QR code, the surgical
Yeah.
to meat cutting, you can find it on Amazon, either ebook or you can find it physical print. I was like, we just recently got our physical prints last week, so I was like, it won't take any long. It'll be less than a week of time if you want to grab a copy.
Okay. Dang.
Now you got the copy that I sent you, right?
Yes, I got the copy. The copy online that you sent me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we got that.
So the company that actually does the printing, they call it Ingram Spark. So you can get it from them too. I think everyone's kind of used to ordering from Amazon, which is fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so we're going to be going on a little tour of book signings here locally, and hopefully sell some books, but just create some awareness, and having folks like you who are so dedicated and passionate about cutting meat and cooking meat and everything. It really does help the awareness of this kind of book.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get it out there. We'll do
I
everything
love
we
it,
can.
man. Yeah, it's super cool, man. It's pretty cool that you guys came together to write this, and really kind of bring the two worlds together and share that experience. Like I said, Tyler can go around butchering a lot of different people. Experience, so
Not that I've ever done that.
not that he's ever done it. Keep talking about Dexter. Well, guys, is there anything else that you want the world to know here about the book or about a surgical approach to cutting meat?
Yeah, I want to know what your favorite cuts are for eating.
We've done this before, and
Yeah.
for me it depends on so many different variables, but I'm a Chateaubriand,
Yep.
super old school,
Okay.
super old school pan sear, French brown butter, thyme, garlic, poêlé, roast.
Yeah.
That's my Christmas Eve special.
There you go.
Yeah,
See?
we sell a ton of those.
Chateaubriand.
Yeah. Man,
Chateau Brian,
for me,
yeah.
Dude, I think for me, I've moved from, I used to be a ribeye guy, and I moved to the New York. I just think, I love it. I think it's so much meatier.
Texture.
The texture, it's really beefy, and I can really get into it.
More minerality.
Yeah, and so I think a purebred or a full-blood Wagyu New York, to me, oh my gosh, you get that beautiful fat cap. I love the bite of fat with every single bite of meat, and that's just like one of my favorite things.
Because we have an argument at my old work about that, and we argue about the New York strip has better texture and flavor, and then we have two others that always are about the ribeye, and I'm like, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm a ribeye guy, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
no, it's-
Oh, thank you. Oh my God, you have no idea how
I'm a
good this
ribeye guy, dude.
Please post this too.
Yeah.
I was like, at this part, I was like, please.
Yes, I know, man. We've been selling a lot of New Yorks too in the shop. I think people are catching on here. Maybe it's just because we talk about it so much, but yeah, we're selling a hell of a lot. So.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I know we got to wrap it up because
Yeah,
I think I'm
thank
going to
you
get
so
a
much for
ticket
having us.
here. I got a lot of people coming up and talking to us and freaking
Yeah.
Usually.
deliveries coming in. What the hell, man?
It's not even Friday yet.
I know.
Right.
Damn. But hey, what a great conversation with you guys. You can find a surgical approach to meat cutting on Amazon. Google that up, put it out there, order that book. It's got a lot of great recipes, a lot of great butchery insights. Thanks for joining us, man. You guys, this has been awesome. Thanks for cooking up some good stuff for us and sharing a little bit about Florida and the meat in Florida with us, man. It's been pretty great.
Yes, absolutely. Evan, Tyler, thank you very much for having us.
And the
You
next
got it,
one we're
guys.
going to do in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're up here.
come on up.
My
Yeah,
group.
you come up here.
All
We'll
together.
cut some meat. We'll drink some bourbon together too. So yeah, we'll get it
Okay.
all taken care of. I appreciate you guys once again. We'll talk to you soon. We'll send out the meat.
Tyler.
All right. See you soon.